Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hi, everyone. This is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Roma Bajaj Kohli. She is a life coach, a host, a motivational speaker, and a leader of a women's empowerment organization. Her global traveling adventures and her former experience of being a global fashion apparel designer have given her the edge to help her clients design and live a life of their best dreams and desires. Her expertise is helping her clients follow their soul's purpose and passion to become the creator of their own destiny by designing daily practice which helps them become in alignment with their mind, body, and spirit. Some of the key areas she focuses on are self, work, and family, and she's the founder of the Awakened Mind Method, an 8-week transformational program that helps soul-centered women leaders master their minds by owning their true power and awaken their innate intelligence through play. Her superpower is the ability to be more and do less and still be an influencer. And of course, she's naturally gifted with words and charisma and listening skills and a strong intuition. Roma's enthusiasm, determination, and patience are her secret tools that she uses to stay focused and grounded. She has a tremendous ability to embrace her imperfections, to be raw, open, and vulnerable. She's the kind of coach who would never stop believing in you, in your vision, and she will hold you accountable when you slip up. Wow, Roma, you're the person we all need. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Tami, for having me here. My pleasure.
I'm excited to talk with you because you have such a unique background. You have the fashion design. You worked in India in the fashion industry. And then, of course, now you're a mom. You live in the United States. And you do a lot of really cool things with family and with cooking and food and the mat. So I'm going to let you tell me more about how you became inspired to create this business.
Thanks for the question, Tami. It's been a long journey if you look at it, because for anyone to make sense from a fashion designer to then I became a yoga teacher before I became a coach. I used to teach, and that's why my services are on the mat, in the kitchen, and mind and body, because my whole journey of traveling to the different 5 countries, I traveled because of my husband's job. And for me to find, my purpose and to find something to do for my career in each of those places was one of the biggest struggles of my life. And really, it was that constant uprooting and rerouting myself, that constant reinvention that has led me to try and play so many roles in my life.
That's interesting because, like you said, you traveled to 5 different countries, and that your constant was change and the reinvention of creating yourself. So do you have any examples of some of the different ways you invented yourself?
Yeah, surely. Like, I remember the first time I left India, I had just been promoted as a corporate wear designer from a sleepwear designer. I had just got the promotion in the same company. And then we went to London, and after 3 months of, deeply looking for jobs, I realized that nobody was ready to give me a job there, because they said we needed you to have some fashion study or some background of some certification from London itself. And I was like, oh no, I don't even know for how long me and my husband are going to live here. So I don't know if I have the time to study. So I went back to becoming an intern with a small design house just to keep in touch with with my skills of designing. And then I worked there. And then I finally, after 8 months of internships and doing a certification course alongside, landed a good consulting job as one of the high street designers for a manufacturing company there. And I barely did it for 2 months or three, I would say. And my husband, it was in 2008. So we hit the crisis, the financial crisis at that time, because of which his job got over at his company and we had to go back to India. And then when we came back to India again, I was like, I didn't, you know, my perspective had changed. I wanted to do something more than just designing. I wanted to contribute and give back in a bigger way. So somebody introduced me to one of a very good institute in India, where I became the guest faculty, where I was a professor in a fashion college. And then that opportunity came in. I think I was in that opportunity for 8 months when my husband got a call to move to Switzerland. And then we moved back again. And this time was a hard challenge, because this time when we moved to Switzerland, the language was a barrier. The main language, we were in Zurich, they were speaking German. So it was very hard for me to first pass that, like first learn the language and then find a job. That too in fashion. Every one of my husband's friends, who are mostly from the engineering background, would look at me and be like, you have a very unique career. And I'm like, yeah, it's so unique that I never seem to find anything to do, right? It's such a struggle in every country I have gone. I wish I was an engineer, and I would go down the spiral of feeling like, oh, I wish I had done something else in life. But every time I was so fortunate that I landed a job, or I landed some opportunity or the other. Like while I was thinking of again reinventing myself, I came up with an opportunity of working with a friend of mine who wanted me to help him and assist him in exhibiting in Paris for a month. He was exhibiting in Pret-a-Porter, Paris, the whole week, but I had to go there and help him. And turns out he ships all his stuff to me. I said, yes, I'll help you, because I'm still finding a job. I'm still figuring out stuff in Switzerland. I say, yes, I help you. He ships all his stuff to me. And on the last day, when I, go on the train to go to Paris from Zurich, I get a call from my friend saying he cannot come because he didn't get the Schengen visa to come from India, to come to Paris. And I was like, what? Like, how did you even apply for Pret-a-Porter Paris if you didn't have a Schengen visa? And he said, if I had to apply to the fair before I did it, so that I had a paper to show them that why I wanted to go there. And then the embassy still didn't give him the visa. And I was like, oh no. And then turns out, the blessing in disguise was that I ran the whole show for him. I was there in Paris and I kept doing it back and forth for him. And it turned out to be a successful show for him. And then I turned out assisting him in designing batik and hand printed, batik to wear for his company. And it was a beautiful experience, because I then got to experience the whole fair and really see how the Pret-a-Porter Paris, the fashion week works, and what kind of exhibitors are there. I got to interact with all his clients and give him a good business. So that was an amazing opportunity as well. When I came back home to Zurich after a month, I realized that I had another opportunity waiting for me. I got a call from Esprit. They needed an English-speaking illustrator for Adobe, and I was designing their catalogs, and I got that opportunity. And then I was working for both these companies. It's only when you start, for me, it was always like I started feeling comfortable and started really enjoying my life when the opportunity to go back to India came for us. And I call it an opportunity now because, like Steve Jobs said, it's easier to connect the dots looking back. But in that moment, it wasn't always. And then I had to go back to India. And I was fortunate enough to again go back to the fashion industry. And then it kept on going on until I came to New York. And it was really, when I came to New York, I realized that this was the time when I told my husband, okay, you go, you start your work. Me, and I had in Switzerland, I had given birth to my son already in that time. So my first child. So I told him that, okay, now I have my job in this college and I really love it. I was mentoring the degree project students. I wanted to finish my commitment before I joined him. So I told him, you go ahead while I'll join you later. And then that distance of 6 months being away from my husband really took a toll on me and my son, who was very young at that time. And so when I made a decision to go to New York, like to come to US, I knew that I was coming on a dependent visa where I couldn't work. So I knew that I was coming either to be a stay-at-home mom, or if I wanted, I could study. And so when I came here, I came with, a plan of someone who always wanted to do something for herself and a career, saying that, okay, I'm going to come here and study. And then I realized when I come here that within 6 months of while I was preparing to give my GMAT for an MBA in fashion communication, I realized I was pregnant with my second child. And then it came the time to choose whether I wanted to, really with the child, if I was going to go to school and then get a job and then go in that spiral of the loan of the education, etc., and not know when I would get my visa to work, or I would just be a stay-at-home mom. And of course, the child stayed. I became a stay-at-home mom for 4 years of my life. And it was really in that 4 years when I started doing the inner work of finding, like, who am I really? Am I really meant to be this fashion designer? And what are all these opportunities of constantly moving to different places, trying to teach me? What is life trying to teach me? What am I here to really learn from this life? And while I was home so much, I really developed this passion for cooking. But the only way I would find myself was when I was on the mat. So I would see these two parts of me, one in the kitchen where I would feed my passion and my whole family would, get happy. My energy would light up. And there was a part of me on the mat where, when I would go on the mat, that would really be my time with myself, doing my yoga practice and really internalizing who I was. So it was really the parallels between the two, the in the kitchen, on the mat, that made me find my mind, body, and spirit. And that's how really just taking that journey and over again, I went for a yoga teacher training in India 3 years back. And it was really from then onwards, I realized that it was more than just the yoga practices on the mat. My life was more than just me being in the kitchen. It was a culmination of this whole holistic lifestyle living and designing that really made me and my lifestyle and my work so unique.
That is really unique, because most people, like when you said about Steve Jobs says it's easy to connect the dots up when you're looking back at it, but when you're in it, you're just like floating along. But that really is a beautiful way that your life, it kept constantly changing and moving you back and forth. And then you had children in that.
Mm-hmm.
You had the experience of being apart from your husband, and then you were, working as a full-time mom, which is a job in itself. And then to weave all of those things, the love of cooking, and then to realize that you needed that yoga time or the mat time, and then to weave all that together. That really is a fascinating background. So of all of that, what would you say your biggest obstacle or hurdle that you've achieved has been?
I think my biggest obstacle before that was the constant state of wanting to do or be someone. It was really in that moment where when I took the time to go to the ashram in India for my training, it was like a 1 month of where I left both my kids with their grandparents, and my husband was back in US working. I still hadn't gotten my visa, like the visa to work in US. So it was still a time of exploration for me. I think my biggest obstacle was giving myself the permission to pause and to say it's okay. It's okay that you are not doing anything, and it's okay that you're taking this time to figure out what you want to do in life. Who do you want to be? And then once you have all that clarity, you can, love yourself even through that pause where you do nothing and just figure out, and then come on the other side really creating your life and destiny.
I think that's really important because right now we're in this unprecedented time when people's lives are, let's just say, uprooted, or they have to stay home. They can't go out to work. When you work with people with your program, is one of the things that you help them to see is it's, like you said, it's okay to allow yourself that pause and time?
Yes, that's exactly what. And it's also about sometimes the pause, if you don't take it, you will be forced to take it through sickness. Sometimes we encounter illnesses and we don't realize it, but we've manifested that for ourselves. It's because we are so busy running and not listening to our internal voices, that our intuition, that we don't know how we've manifested that, right? And so I think what I really try to teach with the Awakened Mind method is pause. And in that pause, when really shit hits the ceiling, allow yourself to just be in that vulnerable moments, and just allow yourself to be seen. Because if you try to hide and not seek help and try to DIY this whole pause moment and go with it with the mindset of, oh, I have to be perfect, I have to get this right, oh, I cannot look like this, that's when we end up really hurting and not growing and really blocking our own success, or sabotaging would be the right word, like the self-sabotage would be the time when we really hit ourselves over and over again down. We play small, we really subject ourselves to be hidden and not seen.
That's really interesting, because one of the whole things that I do with my Women Innovators, it's all about helping women talk about their big message and their big mission and to be seen in the world. So that's really fascinating to me. So you go out and do public speaking now? What are some of the ways that you get your message out into the world?
Right. So, for me, the first biggest way to get the message out in the world is to be in that uncomfortable position in front of my family, especially my kids, because I think they are the next generation. And I think now we know it, that they are the future of this world, and they really need to see that it's okay to be that. That's my first platform of really showcasing my work. But I also go to corporate firms, banks, and corporations and organizations where I speak and share this message with the leaders, the women leaders, and everyone, basically, to really know that it's not about just the running and doing and the next thing to do. It's also about taking the time to really listen to where you are going and what you want to do next. Just that. And I also think that, the message is out there. The Mother Nature is now saying it through COVID, right? Like, really just stop and contemplate how much you need to be something for. Do you want to achieve your next best thing because it serves your ego, or do you want to achieve the next best thing because that truly serves your uniqueness and serves who you are? So I think these are the moments and times in our life that we use these opportunities to really pause and reflect.
I think you're right. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about what you said, that you broke you have the food angle, the mat, the kitchen, and mind, body, spirit. So when you're working with someone, what does that look like when you're incorporating all those things? Are they all separate, or are they all blended and incorporated for the whole?
Right. So initially my offering was, I used to teach people yoga poses. Like I used to conduct yoga classes in my studio. I had a home-based yoga studio in New Jersey. And then I used to teach them movement practices, yoga practices, along with breath work and meditation. And then I used to take separate or a combination of cooking and yoga practices, right? So we would do yoga for an hour, and then we would go and cook for an hour. So it used to be a 2-hour workshop, the mind, body, and spirit, where we did the yoga practices and then we would do the cooking. But now in this Awakened Mind method, I have a 5-step framework, which talks about, the mindset. We start with the mindset work because I think that's the most important to tackle. And that really came up because when I was working with people on the mat, in the kitchen, and mind and body, the combination, what I really realized is that people constantly kept giving 2 excuses. I don't have the time, or I'm just so busy. Like they both are the same thing. I'm just so busy, doing everything, taking my kids for classes. What they were trying to say when they were busy is that I am not my priority, right? I'm prioritizing everything else, but I am just not being my priority in this moment. And that's fine. We all struggle. We all struggle through that hustle. So really, when I developed this Awakened Mind method, what I'm trying to tell people is now it's as convenient as taking this course online. You can take it anytime, anywhere. But at the same time, I kept my 5-step framework, which is we work with your mindset. It's not about the time. It's about prioritizing yourself. And why do you say I'm busy? It's because you are not finding time to take care of yourself. And it's just not your usual self-care of going to the spa. It's deeper than that. It's really stopping to listen to you. So we work with the mindset, then we work with the mindful movements that are customized for you. When I say mindful movement, I'm saying not about yoga practices. It's a little bit more than yoga practices, because there are some people who can do certain yoga poses, and there are some people who want to find a balance of, from that hit that they do the high intensity workout, to some people say, I can do the high intensity, but I can't do the yoga practice. Then some people say, oh, yoga is for me, but the hit is crazy. What I'm saying by mindful movement is really finding a way to move that feels like motivating and feels like challenging at the same time. It's in between, something that is your comfort zone, but at the same time, a little bit beyond that. And then I work with people through a framework called breakthrough breath work. We have to realize that the only way we can tap into our emotions is through our breath. It's the breath that will give you the signal that whether you are getting into an anxiety, like a panic attack right now, or you are feeling calm and composed. In my yoga school, the first thing they taught us for a week, even before they taught us yoga poses, was learning to master your breath. They said, if you can master your breath, you can master your mind. And if you can master your mind, you know what all you can achieve in this world. So then I work with my clients after the breakthrough breath work. We work with a specialized medical nutritionist about the kind of supplements and diets they are taking in. I do follow the Ayurveda principles of, eating and what kind of food is good for you, what body type are you, and what kind of food is good for you. Really not giving them recipes, but giving them guidelines to work with whatever they are used to eating. How can they enhance that and really make that easier for them, and not like giving them a meal plan as to this is only what you have to eat, otherwise you cannot get the body or the mind you want. And then I work with them with visualization meditation, and these meditations are more like hypnosis, but this is derived from yoga nidra, where you are forced to tense and then go into relaxation And through that relaxation, tap into your subconscious mind and really change your belief systems that you have been holding on to for the past, I don't know how many years of your being.
So those are the 5 items that you work on. Wow, that sounds really phenomenal, and it's very deep, but at the same time, it's very educational. To me, it's like, I want to learn that, you know, because you want to learn how to do that. So with this, who would you say you work with the most right now?
Right. So for me, I think it's the perfect example is a busy working parent, because they are the ones who say that, you know, they are the time-starved people. And I think they are the ones who need this the most. It's because we are the sandwich generation, you know, someone just like me. We are the sandwich generation. We are the generation who are not just taking care of the oncoming generation, but we are also, you know, supporting our parents in some ways and forms. So I feel like someone like that sandwich generation, the working professionals who are trying to balance their work life as well as a home life and also take care of their seniors, is really my ideal audience.
I like that. I had a question about success for you, because it's interesting, because obviously your life was not a straight line from, oh, well, I did this and then I became successful. It was obviously an up and down and all around adventure. So what is your definition of what success is, and what advice might you give to other entrepreneurs or moms about what they could do themselves to become successful?
I think for me, my definition of success is the amount of humility I can have. So humility can mean different for different people. For me, the definition of humility is being free from external validation. So the more I am able to detach from the outcomes of my actions and really keep in the mode of practice, just keep doing this service and practice more and more of being me, is what is my definition of success. And really, I think the one feeling I can attach to success is the feeling of hunger. If I can wake up every morning feeling hungry to live a little more, to breathe a little more, and to enjoy this life a little bit more, I'm successful.
Wow, that's actually a beautiful way to put it. And I don't think that most people think about that, to be hungry for a little more joy or a little more happiness, and to keep moving forward. I understand that you've written a book, and how do you typically reach out to people?
So for me, the best ways to reach out to people is obviously the social media is the obvious platform, like Facebook, Instagram, my email list, etc. But as I said, I think it's more like, I remember Maya Angelou's quote in this is that the best way is to make people feel what you feel and experience, rather than if you tell them what you do, they might just remember you for a day and then forget you. But if you make them feel a certain way, they will remember you forever. So my best outreach is through social media platforms and posts and emails, to really make, and every message I put out there is to really trigger and, you know, stir something within that can really contemplate that they need to use their mind, body, and energy to really think as to, what is she saying today? What is she trying to ask? What is she trying to remind me of?
So I have a question. So you also do the food. Do you do videos or cooking demonstrations or yoga demonstrations on video?
So I usually do, I do a lot of, so not too much cooking videos, but I do a lot of, teaching people how to do breath work, meditation, and yoga movement practices, definitely. And I talk more about food for thought versus food in the terms of what to cook, because I think a lot is already out there about what to cook. It's the problem that people struggle as to what is good for me to eat and how can I use what people are teaching out there to really eat it more mindfully and more, more consciously.
So one of the reasons why I'm interviewing you today is that you are one of the co-authors in Tam Luc's BossUp book. And I was really curious on why did you want to participate in that particular book project?
Right. Tam, first of all, is such an amazing person. And through her, I get to meet you, which is wonderful. So the reason I said yes to co-authoring the book BossUp is because I think the time is now for women to really show up as their full, complete, and honest self and really just be the best expressions of themselves. Now is not the time to second guess or doubt yourself anymore. It's the time to really step up and own your, your uniqueness, really. Own your superpowers and show up. So for me, I think BossUp was one of the projects that was helping each one of us be seen in our uniqueness as well as be seen in our journey of life. Like, it wasn't a straight line for any one of these women who are part of this book to get where they are. But that doesn't mean that we get to hide. That just means we need to show up more. And we are really looking to inspire any other woman who's out there, who's watching this and thinking, am I worth it? I want to say, yes, you are. And it's time to boss up.
Wow, that's beautiful. And before I let you go, Roma, I want to make sure that everybody can connect with you. What is your best website address and best way to connect?
So for the best website address is www.wellnessbyroma.com. And the best way to reach to me is on Instagram at wellnessbyroma.com. And also my email, anyone, is revive@wellnessbyroma.com.
Wellnessbyroma.com, and that's ROMA, everyone. So yes. That is really phenomenal. I've really enjoyed listening to everything that you've talked about, and I'm sure that we could keep talking all day long. So I just wanted to, if I forgot to ask you anything about the Awakened Mind method or anything, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our audience with before I let you go?
Yeah, it's just that I'm offering a 1-hour free epiphany call. I call it the epiphany call because for people who are interested in the Awakened Mind method, I call it the epiphany call because I think that it is a way for you to see what is holding you back and really get an aha of, that's what I do to myself all the time, and help me and help yourself, call you out on that and say, now is the time to really boss up and take this leap of faith or the next step.
Well, thank you. So everybody, Roma is a co-author in Tam Luc's or Tamira Luc's new book called BossUp, and you'll be able to read that soon. And I really, really enjoyed this, Roma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tami, for having me. It was really an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Everyone, this is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful, day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.